In the mid-1960s, Hogan's Heroes was the hottest show. It ran from 1965 to 1971. It was a huge, phenomenal sensation. Everyone says, one day we're going to look back at things and laugh. Well, when it comes to World War II, Hogan's Heroes certainly made sense of that saying. No one ever thought that a sitcom about a prisoners of war camp would be so successful, and it was. And it made Bob Crane, a disc jockey and drummer, a household name. Bob received 2 Emmy Award nominations, but then he disappeared. After Hogan's Heroes ended in 1971, Bob kind of vanished. He was no longer the big star, but then little did we know that Bob had a secret life. That secret life was he was a womanizer. Yes, a lot of TV stars, Hollywood stars, way back when, and even some now, are big-time womanizers. Bob kind of shined the brightest when it came to womanizers. Bob, according to his son, Robert, Bob was a documentarian of the family. He would take pictures of the family, vacations, home movies, but it wasn't just his family Bob was interested in photographing. Bob was also interested in taking pictures of the various women he had affairs with. Bob also became an addict of erotic conquests. Bob was known for videotaping himself having these erotic conquests with various women. Very, very seedy, heartbreaking stuff. And it was quite sad because this movie shows how he went from everyday suburban neighborhood family man to erotic addict. He was very delusional. By the end of the film, he's going, yeah, you're going to put me in the movie like this, you're going to put me in the movie like that. And his agent became aware of it, and his agent's going, I don't know, Bob. This could really have serious consequences to your image. All of that is explained to us, parts of it explained to us in the 2002 psychological drama Autofocus, starring Greg Kinnear, Willem Dafoe, and Rita Wilson. Greg Kinnear plays Bob Crane, and Willem Dafoe plays John Carpenter. Not the Halloween or The Thing director. There was another John Carpenter. John Carpenter was a salesman who worked for Sony. He was selling videotape recorders. Nowadays we call them video cameras, but in those days it was known as videotape recorders, and by that I mean the 60s and 70s. And John introduced Bob to all this new technology. John also had the same interests as Bob, erotic conquests. And together they became trouble. Together they just brought out the worst in each other. But then, in 1978, June 1978, Bob was murdered. Bob was murdered in his apartment. The crime scene photos showed no sign of a scuffle, and there was only one prime suspect, John Carpenter. Now, unfortunately, the crime scene and the murder mystery was poorly handled. It is, to this day, a very cold case. Still to this day, no one knows who murdered Bob Crane. We now know why someone would want Bob Crane dead, but we don't know who did it. And I feel very sad for Bob's family because they deserve to have closure. They deserve to know who did it. They deserve to know who murdered their father. Autofocus is certainly not for everybody. This is an extremely explicit, over-the-top, no-holds-bar movie, and it's directed by Paul Schrader, the writer of Taxi Driver and Raging Bull. I will say Autofocus, if you're into true crime, if you're into all the Netflix original true crime series, this one's for you. It's not for everyone, of course. It's certainly, I would say it's worth watching one time. I would say it is worth renting, but as that saying goes, once was enough. Me, personally, I found it very sad and quite disturbing. So, on that note, I say if you're a fan of true crimes from Netflix, this is up your alley.